I work for Paramount. Okay, the bulk of my channel brands are youth brands. Whether it's MTV, BET, MTV based, the number one, music and youth channel. I'm 47.
You're not youth, my
I'm
brother.
not youth. Eh?
You're
I'm
not youth. So you
Okay.
have to know to listen to youth.
So I have to be led. I'm led by insights. I'm led by pop culture. I'm led by partnerships. Working with yourselves and some of your colleagues in the industry. I'm led. I'm led by insights and I lean in on people. One of my strongest, my only value, to be honest, is umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me knows that I've always just surrounded myself with amazing, talented people.
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.
My former boss. Hey, Mr. Twala. How are you?
Hello. Hello. Happy Friday. Happy holidays.
Firstly, I have to get a little hello and I can start telling.
Okay, let's
Firstly,
go. I knew.
You knew what was coming.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
First, I need the listeners to explain to me, how does a man blue tick you on WhatsApp, but he comes to your radio show while he's not? I need to understand, Mr. Man. How is it? Firstly,
use problems, technology,
oh, please.
AI, these things. Hey, they're confused, man. They're confused.
Mr. Twala, welcome.
How are
I'm
you, my
so
sister? You
excited. I'm well. I just feel like you were the perfect person to round off the year because we tried to do this.
We've been,
right?
We've been.
But you're the perfect man for the job.
And I'm relaxed. I'm calm.
You're on leave.
I'm blessed.
You've been day drinking.
It's water. Thank you.
You actually, you were at ETV at some point in your career, BET, Paramount. So you are making big moves. And I even recall your team when I was doing voice work. I even forgot about that. When I say you were my boss, I actually meant when I was at ETV.
Yes.
But I forgot about the BET.
Leave the BET stuff out. Back then.
Yes, I even forgot. Oh my gosh. So with you arranged, and I remember I had to record voiceovers, and I got to record voiceovers while I was holidaying in New York. Oh. And I passed by the offices, and I was like, Monde Twala is a big deal. I feel like we don't recognize you, hey?
No, I'm a simple boy, from Dube, Soweto. I'm you know me. Anyone who knows me, I'm calm, I'm cool, not as collected though all the time, but yeah, I'm a simple Dube boy, Soweto boy, and I will remain a simple Soweto boy.
And that's what I love about you, in the sense that you have quite an important role in what you're doing, is bringing this international brand, these international brands into the continent, but trying to find ways to make them work to us who are quite a unique audience as South Africans, because we are quite westernized, but you're adding a whole lot of local flavors into the space. And I'm wondering, when you were a child, did you ever think you would be doing what you're doing today?
Wow, as a child, I had many dreams, to be honest.
Why do I feel like you wanted to be a basketball player?
No, actually, it was a football. I wanted to be a soccer player. And I actually did well. I did well.
Really?
I am probably, I regard myself, confidence. I get confidence. I do regard myself as one of the most talented left-footed, has-beens in football.
I see.
So I did have my stint. Obviously, growing up in Soweto, in the 80s, what do you dream about? I think back then we used to all dream about, being some football star or being some musician.
And some wanted to be a boxer because of Baby Jake.
Some wanted,
right?
Baby Jake. I grew up at Dube, so Baby Jake used to, jog past my house, early mornings, late evenings. But growing up in Soweto was actually a big inspiration. I did not think I'll be in this business. But I think I come from a family that is very out there, very very inspiring in terms of even the characters in my family. I come from a family. My grandfather was a man called Monde Twala. He was in football. He was one of the first black editors for in the print space back in his time. He was an activist. So I grew up in a family, in a household that had very dynamic characters and believe me, I think everyone thinks I've got a big mouth now. I was actually quite quiet, reserved, because there were much bigger characters around me, from my aunts, my cousins, my siblings, etc., etc. Hey,
and I'm wondering then, how does a young boy who's becoming a man start to find his voice around loud voices? And what at that time did you see as failure? I mean, me being a creative, I used to fantasize growing up in a creative home where I was like, in my dream life, don't like us, my father. The keys are being played every day, and my
you're on
mom,
vocals.
yes, so and I always had these ideas that growing up in a home of people who have established themselves in spaces that were inspiring to me was like the ultimate. But I didn't have that, and that kind of made me more driven in some ways. So I'm wondering, for someone like yourself, because you also then went and married into a family with great creatives.
Nah, listen, I think I was blessed with, like you said, I think, being born into a family and a village that is very ambitious. We were taught early in life to be about the people, So I think I think my kind of power was which is something I still practice today, is just listening. So I was a sponge from early on, because of all these amazing characters, these well-educated people around me, the spirit of also being very communal in sharing, and the people that walk into your door, the visitors that come see your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunts, etc., your mom. That's where the influence for me came from. I remember my brothers and I think we were probably very young when AA2 was the place to hang out. Go Dube. And I remember going, and we were watching all the kind of martial arts movies, AA2. You'd on holidays, like now, December holidays, you'd wake up early morning, 10 o'clock, you're off to AA2. And I think just from visually, that's where the inspiration to be in kind of a TV film space kind of was inspired. But I was never gonna be anyone who's in front of the camera. I was saying to the gents earlier, it's great to be behind the scenes. You get to curate, you get to create, you get to collaborate, and all of that, I think, does come from just sometimes it's the school of life. I call it the Twala school of life.
Yes.
Or I call it, because I come from Dube, Soweto, I call it the Dube school of life. Sometimes when you pick up nuances, cultural nuances, there's Soweto is one of the most diverse townships or communities you have. You get everybody from anywhere, multiple languages, multiple cultures, and I think that's important in the kind of job that I do. It's great for creativity, because you lean on what is your reality, you lean on what's authentic, and unfortunately, those are things that you can't go to school for. You can't go to after for. You can't go to you can't go to some of these schools now to get that. That is really the tapestry of where you come from, and using that as an inspiration to urge you on in whatever career you want to. I happen to get into this space. It's even a long story how I even got to this space. But I'm really always driven by purpose, I guess,
And I love though that, what you said, for example, about the part of, yes, you can go to AFDA and get a qualification, but there's certain inspiration you will never get at school. And coming from a rich hub like what you did, you don't even have to come from a rich hub. You can literally use the people around you, because we are in an era where telling our stories is so important. So I wonder, the young version of you who was like, I'm going to be this football star, what in your mind was failure? Was it like, I don't care what happens to my report card. If I don't make it as a football star, I'm a failure. Is it, these marks have to get right because I don't want to disappoint my parents? What was your understanding growing up of what failure is?
Like I said, I come from a very academic, creative family. So all of us, within, all my siblings, we've all grown up to a standard, so we have to maintain a standard.
Yes.
Wapas.
Yes.
Report, so I think that's always been a standard and a pressure to show up and achieve,
Was not washing dishes also considered a failure as a boy in your home?
No. I was actually the one who was cooking, washing, cleaning. My grandmother did not. Hey,
you know why I asked this?
You know
I asked this because I've noticed, and I could be completely off the mark, I find that men who are exceptionally successful at what they do were made to do house chores at home. It was not like you chill and the girls will do this and that.
I think it's the essence of hard work. It starts at home. I think we all, in this kind of new age and, access to new things and kind of, I still instill those values in with my kids. It's hard work. You don't stop working. You work all the time. It teaches you to look after your things. It teaches you value for your own things that you value for your home, value for yourself.
And discipline.
Self-love starts there. So when like free first do.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
the fact that you
dube.
even say frame. I love that.
Okay. Free first do.
Yeah.
Just free first do. Go. I mean, I get home, I still have to wash dishes. I still have to show up because it's also about, the ones that are coming after me, so making sure that the kids see you do these things. It's even like even my management style. My management style is not about, I want to know how you do your job. I want to do your job for you, but I have to know what goes into your job, because you have to also be a leader who walks the talk,
Hey, on
and shows up,
702, walk the talk.
Hey, where now?
Yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see what I did?
And I love that about, because you, for as long as I have known you, you've always been approachable, and it's difficult in an era of hierarchies, titles, and ego, where you become approachable to everybody. How do you manage that? Because you still have to toe the line. At the end of the day, you have to answer to shareholders, to board members. They don't care how this you can't be like, no, but the editor that day, they don't care. They're just like the bottom line. How do you find that balance? Because I think many leaders are still lacking in, I don't want to say empathy, it's a very specific word I'm looking for, but just being in touch with the people that work with you to get the most out of them.
Yeah, I think especially today's kind of woke world, VUCA world. I think as leaders, we're leaders that learn, and we learn all the time. I've always been teachable. I've always been mentored, and mentorship. I think in my early days, I made mistakes of thinking mentorship comes from someone above you, older than you. No, mentorship is everything around us. Mentorship is a friend. A mentorship is even I work for Paramount. Okay, the bulk of my channel brands are youth brands. Whether it's MTV, BET, MTV based, the number one music and youth channel. I'm 47.
You're not youth, my
I'm
brother.
not youth, eh?
You're
I'm
not youth. So you
Okay.
have to know to listen to youth.
So I have to be led. I'm led by insights. I'm led by pop culture. I'm led by partnerships. Working with yourselves and some of your colleagues in the industry. I'm led. I'm led by insights and I lean in on people. One of my strongest, my only value, to be honest, is umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me knows that I've always just surrounded myself with amazing, talented people. Amazing, but it comes from an amazing, talented family around me.
Yes.
So I'm used to being anchored, and not always being the anchor. And I think that's sometimes a leadership challenge is that you think you always have to be the anchor. You take on a lot, and you delegate less. Other people don't feel they grow around you because you always want to be the one doing it. And I think, of course, leadership is a journey, and I've journeyed and evolved over time, learning to surround myself with more talented people around me, geniuses, creatives, even in business, making sure that you surround yourself with
it took
with
time,
anchors.
right,
It
for you
takes time.
to learn that. So when the moment, and share with us what the moment is, when the moment happened when you realize this football dream is not going to happen. Because for many people, they find themselves holding on to a very specific thing that they believe that they should be doing, that they don't notice the opportunities around them. And I would love to just hear how for you recognized, accepted, and then opened yourself up to other things. Because
wow.
that is the reality for many people. Some end up not pivoting because they're so stuck on, but I must be a.
Or stuck on a dream that's not coming into fruition. That's it's sad. Because I think I've seen a lot of people hang on to dreams and that defining moment where it flipped. I think for me it flipped when I was doing well. I was actually playing for Kaizer Chiefs reserves. I was doing amazingly well, and there was a change of coach. So Pro Kumalo used to be our coach in the reserve team at the time, and he passed away. A new coach came, and like in football, I think football it's luck. You have to be at the right place at the right time. A lot of people in football will tell you that. But I had hard work. I loved what I do, and it came naturally. So when you're a ball player, you can dribble, you can do amazing things on the ball, but off the ball, you're a little bit more lazy.
Yes.
You think someone else will do it for you. So I had to evolve into that culture, and I remember going back home, and there was a change of guard, and typically it happens even in business. There's always a change of guard. You have to put your head down and focus on your play and your journey and your path. I remember getting home, telling my mom, and my mom was like, "Stop this football thing."
Oh,
I'm like, Ma, no, you can't. She said, no. You've got a choice, I grew up in a household with two brothers who were young. I'm the eldest. And it's either here's a check, you take this check, you go to school. And I still insisted. I said, don't worry about me, Ma. I'm gonna be like Neil Tovey. I'm gonna be the captain of Bafana one day. Don't worry, I'm gonna be playing for Arsenal, and I used to love AC Milan those days. So I had my dreams, and I had, this vision about where I wanted to go, but the reality of it was that, it was not a sustainable plan. I had not thought it through, and probably I didn't want it hard enough. Like I've reflected on that one element in my life that I moved on.
You think you were passionate, but when
I thought I was passionate,
but you
and I'm
weren't.
still passionate about football. I'm a big Arsenal supporter. I'm a big Kaizer Chiefs supporter. Still love my football, and I'm still in the football network. My friends became pro footballers. So you name them, they're all in my ecosystem.
Yeah.
But but now I can chill with them, and they're my friends, and we have, get-togethers, and we now all are old now anyway, so we're all playing socially and have reconnected. But I think that was a key milestone for me. That was a turning point. I then literally moved from there, went and did my marketing studies. I did my IMM. I went, did my IMM. In that journey, you start meeting other people. I did have also the family network in the industry, my mother, my aunt, Monde Twala at the time was on Metro. And she said, hey, listen, just come, one day come to studio. I came to studio, met more people. If you remember Rowena's one of my biggest, inspiration, because she then pushed me on to, to corporate communications, because I coming from a marketing background. All of a sudden, I'm in the SABC. I'm doing tours. I used to be the guy taking people around the SABC.
As in, like, when we're on radio and there's a group of people standing by that.
Monde Twala,
oh my
bringing
goodness.
them. I used to take them onto set. I used to come onto radio. I had to learn the mission, the vision, and I had to be that voice and face for the brand. And I moved on from corporate communications. I went to sport. How did I even get to sport? Football.
Okay.
It's amazing how football has
always been in the picture.
Because I then I was playing a soccer game, social game. The SABC had a social team. So I was playing the social team. I met a guy called Edward Griffiths, who's still my mentor today. And Edward said, hey, Mons, we were playing soccer. He says, who's this cocky guy?
Yes.
He's cocky. First game, he's already telling us what to do, and he's so skinny. And who does he think he is? Hey, listen, fast forward years later, I moved into sport, and I worked for back then it was Top Sport. Edward left, went to ETV.
And he's like, what's up?
He said, come along. I then started partnering with the Marcel Goldings and the Bronwyn Kenyans. And
I feel like, Monde, there are many men who can totally relate, because their football dreams were also crushed. And I'm thinking about the conversation that Mom had with you to say, let this thing go. And, your world ended up going exactly the way it needed to go for you to be where you are. But what would you be able to share with listeners that you have learned out of failing, being a person in such, a massive company in charge of such a big region? You are fully aware of the value of trial and error and why failing is important, why failing fast is important. But what can you share from your entire life experience you have learned?
I think it's really, for me, it's always been about how you are good at, just taking guidance and taking advice. Like I said, I'm mostly informed by insights. So I like insights. I like to know what the trends are. I like to know where people are going. I like to know, there's a huge ecosystem that impacts what works, what doesn't work. And you'll never have that show. You'll never have, I can't sit here and tell you, listen, do a drama series and it's going to work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, stuff you have to cook and balance off, whether it's time slots, whether it's who's watching, available audience.
Who your leads are.
Then the
primary language.
Your narrative, access in terms of language, target market, all those things kind of, that's how we mix and play with the art and the science to kind of then de-risk, your chances of a show being a success or being failure. And I think especially in a business like Paramount, insights are gold. We review every single slot. We review every single slot on every single channel all the time. We do insights, regularly do insights that give us a sense of where's the audience, in this new world where everything is multi-territory, multi-platform. You now have new players, you have streaming, you have linear, you have pay TV, you have...
And I was going to ask then, how do you how do you survive as a business where competition is rife because everybody is a broadcaster now? Literally, if you go live, you are a broadcaster in an era where content is king, where the economy is declining, and for people to have access to what you are offering maybe is a higher price point than the other alternatives. How do you survive and actually live with that pressure? Being in the insights, yes, are one thing, but there are many businesses that did not survive when their industry was evolved. They couldn't keep up. So what is it that you do, and what are the conversations?
I think for me, it's more about.
You have,
I think it's more about partnerships. I'm big on partnerships. I'm big on partnerships because what do partnerships do? We collaborate. I believe that creativity, content, ideation comes from different parts of life, parts of the business. Sometimes it's the insights team that will say this is the direction. Sometimes it's clients. Today, in this multimedia kind of environment we all operate in, clients, what do clients want? Clients want integration. They want the 360. They want to be on the ground. They have to be on digital. And I think digitization, as much as I know there's a big conversation now about the threat of AI in kind of the film and broadcast sector.
I love how we call it the threat and not the opportunity.
But it
of
is.
AI.
I was about to say that
right?
it is an opportunity. I remember back in the days we used to have Betacam tapes.
Oh my god!
We used to have
cameras. I don't miss those eras because I had to sit watching playouts because of those.
Today you can have you have production companies that are people sitting at home. If there's one thing COVID has taught us, and we need to remain nimble and flexible, is just to lean in on technology to enable business continuity. That's just how it is. I'm very fortunate. I work for a very progressive business. It's a global business, so there's also best practice there. So being able to lean in on my colleagues from all over the world, whether it's in New York, where our head office is, whether it's my colleagues in Germany, in the Middle East, there's just an amazingness of wealth of knowledge around us. And I think that's kind of our USP. We've got, and that makes our business model, very innovative, very solutions driven, anchored around partnerships. And I think that's just been how I also operate. Whether I was creating Rhythm City or Scandal at the time, or Isono.
Are you proud? Do you look at something you're part of that lived after your time, and it's like number one?
It's I'm not only proud, but I'm fulfilled. I'm fulfilled about the idea of creating sustainable entities and sustainable or culture shifting content. We've just recently did a project, and I pretty much wear many hats, and part of I also sit on the board for the Staying Alive Foundation, and we do MTV Sugar. We produce MTV Sugar, and we actually do peer-to-peer education, and I'm a director on the board, and that's also like different work, because that's about social impact content, content that will not only educate, inform, but also actually help drive engagement. The biggest issue we have in today's world is engagement. There's a lot of, all the young people on social media. We can't continue to even produce or drive content narratives or programming narratives that don't actually integrate with where young people are.
You have to find the audience where they are, as opposed to trying to force them to come to you. So in closing, what's next for Monde? Because I almost feel like, much as it is the ultimate South African dream, being in the type of position you are with the international network that you're working with, but I almost feel like a part of you is only just beginning.
Wow, you actually hit it right there. You know, I think I'm, you know, typically like many people, you come to the end of the year, you reflect. So I'm in my reflective mode right now. That's exactly where I am. I'm always about, you know, not being static. I'm always reinventing. You know, I'm always looking at new opportunities. I'm always looking at evolving. You know, I'm a forever changing, evolving vessel. You know. All anchored in purpose, though. You know, whatever I do and move on to will always be anchored in how I can be part of, you know, projects or businesses that are bigger than myself. You know, because I do believe that we do have to play that role, and I'm inspired. You know, that's where I draw my inspiration from collaboration, from partnerships. Co-producing. I'm working on a few projects now that are innovative. I'm challenging audiences also. I feel like I'm challenging audiences also. If you look at the biopics we've done, we've just finished the Mandoza biopic. You know, we've just a few years ago we did the Lebo Matosa biopic.
Yes.
And all these projects are not easy. Made a lot of mistakes in between. They're not easy, but it's also about challenging us as Africans to think beyond our borders. You know, whatever I do next will not be about me being rooted in South Africa. It's actually about me working and partnering across multiple markets. You know, I think like I said, we were laughing earlier about results and school results.
Yes.
And if you get 96%, why did you leave the 4%
Yes,
behind?
what happened to the 4%?
I think we leave a lot behind. We leave a lot on the table. I think we are very our industry is still very essay-centric, and we need to produce content that travels. And I think that's the paramount opportunity. You know, that I saw. It's almost 8 years now. You know, that I saw. 8 years ago when I moved from ETV to Paramount, and it's been amazing. But I've still kept my ecosystem. I've kept my partnerships, my relationships. But I'm also opening up new narratives, new pathways to do something in Ghana, in Nigeria. If you look at where Amapiano is going, Afrobeat is going, I think our brands are very, very strategically well placed to continue and differentiate themselves that way. And for me, it's definitely a path. You know, I'll continue to build on and even challenge myself. I'm challenging myself to be more global and more Pan-African in my view and my perspective of how we can create and build a sustainable African TV and film market. You know,
We're going to be keeping a close eye on the amazing work you continue to do. We are exceptionally proud of you, and I genuinely believe it is just the beginning for you. 47 is very young. Thank goodness football did not work out because we have you. And I'll close by saying, reply on my WhatsApp, Skelebo. Monde Twala on the other side of failure, 7:02 afternoons.
Thank you for having me.
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.